I got you, chat.
There it is. There it is. There it is. There it is.
One, two. Yeah,
So
there we
got-
go. Yay!
We have video. That's a win.
Okay. Yes, we have video. That's a win. I think. Okay, so we're now getting notification that sound is on. Alrighty. I apologize for being late. We've had some technical issues. Yamez has a storm that is hanging around his region. Yamez has a storm that has hanging around his region.
Hello.
Alexis does not have the ability to host, so it's been left to me, the most technologically inept of the lot of us, to set this up. And so I'm hosting tonight live on Islandmetalforge. Yamez is at risk of dropping out. He has limited bandwidth. Alexis is at Nana Alexis's place, or Mama Alexis's place, and so she's on limited bandwidth because don't want to go up using all of Mum's internet. So I'm hosting, and yeah, nothing was working properly. So hello. Let me go through the comments we have. Coming in first with Jack Pines. Then we've got Curtis Noble. Thank you very much for joining us. Trail Dust, g'day. Trail Dust actually heard of all this panic live because they were on the Discord chat whilst I was panicking trying to get all set up. John Brunel, Deranged. Anyone else? Not yet. Robert Whitney, and of course Tim's probably hiding in the background there watching, but not actually joining us yet. So, welcome. So,
I don't know if I'm coming in clear or not. I will try to write as I can.
Yeah, that's funny. You're gonna participate in the chat via a piece of paper that you're holding up to the screen. I mean, come on.
well, whilst we still have Yamez on his bandwidth, how about we start off with Yamez first for a change on how was your fortnight?
Hi, everybody. Hold on. Can you hear me? Am I breaking up at all?
No,
you're fine. You're fine.
Moment.
Better to just talk. Okay. My fortnight's been good. It's been rainy here. We had it's been like the 2 weeks has been really split. 2 weeks ago, like this last week has been like brutally hot and humid. As summer kind of kicks in, it hit the 90s and it's like, yeah, summer's here. But the week before it was like 60 to 70, low humidity, gorgeous. A lot of yard work has been done. Now it's back to that summer heat. Really nice and muggy, and you step outside and it's like you're getting smacked in the face with a hot, wet towel. But in general, it's been a pretty good time. I don't know if it was brought up last time, but I got an apprentice. Then we found out because he's 17, he can't work in the electrical industry. And so, he's been not working with us. Yeah, like it's considered a hazardous and detrimental job for somebody under 8. His parents want it. He wants it. His guidance counselor thinks it's a great idea for him to come work with us as an apprentice. But the law says all he can do on a job, clerical work or cleanup.
Well, I mean,
I was going to say, here electrical apprenticeships start at 16. What the hell?
I mean, and to be fair, I mean, if they don't know what, You just when the inspector shows up, you just have him push in a broom and say, "We're teaching him how to do the thing that no electrician knows how to do."
Then they know he's lying.
No, are you sure that they'd be like, "Are you sure that guy's not the plumber?"
We're not allowed to let him touch wire. We're not allowed to let him climb a ladder. We're not allowed to let him use power tools. We're not allowed to let him drive any company vehicles. We're not the list of things that he's allowed to do is like this big compared to everything else that goes into the job. And he has been working with his guidance counselor to figure out if there's any sort of, legal loophole program, like an apprentice program for a detrimental or hazardous. I mean, kids yearn for the mines, and I was psyched to find a kid in he's last year of high school that wants to go into the trades. Good stuff. But we're fighting that. It's like Josh thinks we might have a case to have him start. But he wants to make sure all ducks are in a row before we actually. The last thing we need is a homeowner, a Karen homeowner. Oh, you can't work here. I don't want a child working in my home.
Right.
That's my 2 weeks.
Fair enough. Alexis, how was your 2 weeks?
Oh, my 2 weeks has been interesting to say the least. I got a lot of stuff done around the house. There's, of course, because I'm at home now, there is family drama out the wazoo that I don't want to be any part of. I'm just like, not my monkey, not my football. Y'all deal with it. Lots of different little situations playing out, and everybody's wanting me to intervene, and I'm just like, yeah, I'm just leave me. I just want to sit in my space and be left alone. But that doesn't happen. Anyways, besides that, I was able to liquidate a good portion of my stuff that I don't need. I had a garage sale yesterday and did fairly well. I wound up getting rid of about half of everything I had set out. So that's definitely a good start. And there's enough left to or not so much left that I can't just list it individually on Marketplace and just go from there. And oh my God, I've got so much space now. I mean, like when I got back or moved back into my garage, because I live in my garage, obviously. There's literally just this trail down the middle. Well, not even down the middle. It's off to one side. There's just this path down the middle that's like 18 inches to 2 feet wide, and it's stuff just piled up 4 feet tall on each side. And now I've got like stuff on one wall, stuff on the other wall, and it's all open in the middle, and it's so nice just to be able to walk through there. I did quite a bit of forging over the last 2 weeks. I made a bunch of big ass hooks out of 3/8 square, and I'm talking about and I started with 20-inch pieces of 3/8 square, and I made these big ass hooks because I've got a whole bunch of pipe wrenches, and I figured kind of the best thing for me to do would be to hang them up out of the way instead of them being on a shelf like behind everything. And so I made all these big ass hooks and did a bunch of different twists and everything in them and hung those up. And I made a bunch of tiny hooks for my daughter to out of like 1/8 inch, so that she can like hang them from the like in the shower, you got the rack that hangs off of the shower spout or whatever. And the camera's too close, so you can't see what I'm doing. So you got that rack that hangs off the shower thing. Well, I made her all these little hooks she could hang on them, and then just crimp the one end closed. So that they don't come off, and then they're for hanging the loofahs off of, because there's a whole pile of people living in my house. So it's like 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 adults and 3 children. It's a Well, not currently. I mean, right now it's kind of pared down as 3 of them have gone elsewhere for I don't know how long, but so there's that. Yes, yeah, yesterday there was a physical confrontation, a knockdown drag out, if you will. That was fun and exhilarating. I haven't done that since my sister tried to choke my daughter out. And yeah, I am sore. My knuckles hurt, my arms hurt, my knees hurt from going to the ground. But I did prevail and laid the smacketh down. And so that's always fun. Well, I don't know if it's always fun. That's the first time. So I had a good time with that. And in hindsight, I woke up this morning and with so many aches and pains, and I'm just like, I am too old for this shit. This is why I always just kind of try to de-escalate the situation and walk away. And yeah, yesterday I was just like, if you do that, I'm gonna beat your ass. Oh, you are you? There you go. So that's been my 2 weeks. Just been hanging out, trying to tie up a bunch of loose ends and get all my shit together, basically. And I'm mostly caught up. So that's my 2 weeks. Adam, how's your 2 weeks been?
My 2 weeks. Well, that was it's been interesting. So I in this kind of the end of it will kind of come into what we're talking about today. So last week, of course, I was working, but last Sunday I actually had off work because my work very graciously gives us a free day off for our birthday, or they give us a day off. Either the closest, they gave us a day off closest to our first roster day off day for closest to our birthday. So Sunday, being the 31st of the 1st of June, was my closest rostered working day to my birthday, which was the 3rd of June. So I recently turned 39. Yay! Made it around the sun another trip. But so I had Sunday off, and it was basically a recovery day from work. And then Monday, I did sweet stuff all because Monday night, my work actually hosted a function, kind of a what do you call it? A black tie event. It was just a excuse for people to go out drinking. So I went to that, which was on the 2nd of June, and the night leading up to my birthday. So it was like I'm going to go have drinks on the company dime, which I did. And so my birthday, which was the Tuesday, was spent recovering. Since then, it was basically been all engines at full. I've been on the tractor clearing and getting things prepared for the fire season, and trying to set things up and move things around so that everything's all hunky-dory. And then today, which brings me... during the week, so actually at the party, I was notified of a... so my work actually has a new department starting, and it's something that I'm kind of interested in. But the email was sent out on my day off, and the closing date for expressions of interest is the 8th of June, which is yesterday as of the time here. So I actually wouldn't have known about it had it not been for this party, because I don't go back to work until the 23rd of June. So at the party, I was notified, and they released a very early expression of interest a couple of days before I finished work. However, the terms and conditions of the actual job I wasn't interested in, because as many of you know, on my regular job, I work permanent nights. 7 on, 7 off, which works for my lifestyle. It works for where I live. It means when I travel in and out of work, I'm only traveling for 7 days a week as opposed to 10 days. So it saves me fuel costs and all that type of thing. So when they released the new expression of interest on the Sunday, they said that there were options available for the night's crew. And that's what interested me. Now, I've applied for an extension on the expression of interest, noting that I wouldn't come back until the 23rd of June, and the hiring department said you've got until the 10th. So on Friday, I had to call the head of that department, organise an interview with them, and then I went and I'd asked some questions and basically said, look, I'm tentatively interested in this position. I'm willing to come back to days to do training. However, I want to be on nights. To go back to days throws out my lifestyle, throws out time with my wife and the way I live. Basically, if you aren't going to say, yes, I can go on nights, I don't want to be on the job. I'll stay where I am because I'm happy where I am. I'm comfortable where I am. They didn't quite give me that, I wouldn't say guarantee, but I'm probably one of the most likely people to get it because I've been on nights for 8 years and my track record is great. So I had to take that for what it was, and I put my expression of interest in. And basically, I'm not going to hear anything about it until I get back to work. So if they don't like it, then bad luck. In saying that, I have a overheat seas holiday to Bali already booked and paid for September, and basically it's booked on my current holiday. So if I have 1 week off, and then I booked a holiday for a week, and then I've got another week off, so I'm actually planning on going for those 3 weeks. So if they put me on days, that screws my whole holiday up. So I won't be very happy because, like I said, it's already paid for. I'll basically tell them I'm going. It's paid for. You change my holidays. So, which in Australia there's rules about that. But anyway, so that was most of my week, and then today. So today. And again, ties into our topic of the day, which was upskilling. So today I actually went, and as most of us can probably already do, we're probably already proficient in sharpening, kitchen knives and your hunting knives and all that type of thing. Today I actually went and did a course, a short course on sharpening. Reason being is because, whilst I was okay at sharpening, I wanted to basically upskill. I wanted to make sure that I was
What do you need?
great at sharpening. And so the first part of the course was just sharpening kitchen knives and all that type of thing. What I was actually interested in was the second part of the course. So that was sharpening tools, such as axes, chisels, all that type of thing, and also sharpening larger implements. As many of you know, I'm involved in HEMA. A few years ago, I was lucky enough to have Josh Brown from First Degree Forge send me a cutlass, and so I wanted to get that sharp as well. So it was more learning to sharpen those big implements, things like machetes and all that type of thing as well, in order to be a little bit more practical about the things that I can sharpen. So I went and I spent the money. It was about $270 odd Australian to work and with a professional sharpener. That's what this guy does. He's professional knife sharpener. That's what he does for a living. And learn some of the more intricate details and techniques on sharpening other utensils and bigger utensils. So that was my fortnight. Again, Yama's probably going to have a bit of a laugh of me being a little bit long-winded. But, Yamas, you going to say something?
Nope. No. My mom was asking me if I was done. I was like, shit, we're only halfway.
No, we've lost audio for Yamas by the look of it. I can see his lips moving, but I can't hear him. He doesn't look happy.
He's just giving lip service. Yamas.
We heard him for a moment, then he dropped out again.
Being a pain in the butt here over, all of my processes here, and it's driving me.
For a second there, I thought he was doing that thing where he
Give me a break.
pulls the piss and he's just, mouthing
No.
words.
Moving his, yeah, I know, just moving his lips and not saying anything.
Hear you guys, it's just. Let's try and hold on. Give me 2 shakes. I'm gonna cut every single thing on my computer off.
Except for Discord.
And
while you're doing that, it's really disconcerting to hear like 3 words and then like 10 seconds of silence, then 2 words, and
sorry.
Now we're just gonna sit. Adam, you still there?
Yep, I'm here.
Oh, okay. It's just like now we're just gonna sit here and have dead air.
Yeah, nope. Okay, so
when we're talking about upscaling, I really think upskilling. I really think that if I talk slow, it might process it better. Am I coming through okay talking slower?
yes.
I don't know why that works, but on the subject of upskilling, I really should have switched to computer programming and to help this, then wouldn't have.
Nope, it's not
Why
working.
not just
Yeah, you're just gonna have to go with a piece of paper and a pen.
So let's
So
go. Alexis, you go and say what
Go
you got
ahead.
to say. I was just going to go.
all
to
right, I
Tshirts
was
and More.
gonna say, when it comes to upskilling, I mean, for a lot of people, I mean, like it would be what you consider like continuing education in your job or whatever. It's like when I was a plumber, they when PEX first came out, like it was a brand new thing, right? And they sent all of us like for, I don't know, they sent like half of the crew, and then the next day they sent the other half of the crew to a class put on by the people that make the PEX to teach us how to install it, how to use it, or whatever. Upskilling. That now we all know that we all have this brand new skill and it's an ability to install this new product, which at the time we thought was never going to catch on. And I mean, it's kind of the industry standard in plumbing, but so upskilling. The same thing when I was in the military. I mean, you're constantly taking new courses and learning new things. Like going beyond your basic job knowledge stuff. I mean, that's just kind of on the job training, and you learn your airplane, whatever. But it's leadership skills and things like that you go to classes for. Like, and it gets more. As you increase in rank, those leadership skills increase, and the classes are. So you're always doing this continuing education. And I want to say, like in every career field that I've had, except for really the one that I'm in now, it's always been that way. They're always. Now, don't get me wrong. We have to take classes, 3 classes every quarter, but it's all safety related stuff. It's like heat safety or tornado season stuff or watching for snakes, and so we have these. We have 2 1-hour classes and a 2-hour class every quarter. That is, and it's basically just reminding you of the same shit over and over and over again, because every year it's kind of the same stuff. But it's still that's what our continuing education or upskilling has been. I guess that's kind of not really related, but I don't know. like I said, and all the other jobs, they want you to learn more. They want you to become better and move up. And by increasing your skill set, it makes you better suited for the next position and the next. You know what I mean? So that's all I got.
Yeah. Well, see, I think like there's, as opposed to like extra learning in your job, I think upskilling is, in my opinion, slightly different. Like for example, whilst knife sharpening, for example, in this context, is related to um, blacksmithing. It's also a skill that by itself is useful. You know what I mean? Like you can use it. It's a skill on top of what we already do that can be used in tandem, but can also be used completely separately. It's like, learning to MIG weld or learning to braze or learning to TIG weld, whilst it is something that is directly related and can be used in what we do, it's also a skill in and of itself that can be used separately to our vocation. That's how I see upskilling, because it's above and beyond what we need directly to do what we do. So for example, with the rigs and stuff like that, there, Alexis, you drive trucks, you move rigs. Upskilling for you would have been, for example, learning to drive a crane that perhaps would have loaded the rigs or loaded sections of the rigs onto the flatbeds, for example, or learning to operate, directly operate some of the pumps or something like that. Whilst it's tangentially related to what you do and it does assist in what you do, it's more and separate to what you do. You know what I mean?
Yeah. Yamez was saying earlier, like he's like a duck over there. He looks calm on top, but underneath the water, the legs are pumping like crazy. And I wanted to. Somebody mentioned something about tornado snakes, because I was talking about snakes, watching for snakes, tornado season, and all that. And that just made me think of instead of Sharknado, Snake NATO. I mean. How much more horrifying would that be? All right, sorry for the distraction, but
I've actually seen one of them. Of course, only in Australia.
Right?
Yes, I have seen snakes, particularly venomous snakes, being slung around. Whilst we don't get the wind and storm-like events that you guys call tornadoes, we do get. Sometimes I've heard them referred to by Americans as dust devils, but we get them from the size of dust devils all the way up to just shy of, let's say, half of a category 1. So they can still be rather destructive, but not as devastating as you guys get tornadoes in the US. So we can still, maybe even category 1. So we can still get, we call them willy willies. We have dust devils, willy willies. We can get them rather strong. Whoop! We might got Yamez back. Lights changed, and we could hear him groaning. Maybe you can't hear us. But yes, back. Nope, he's frozen. Back on the dust devils. So yeah, we do get those types of wind tunnels, but just not to the extent of tornadoes. But in saying that, I was in a situation where I was out bush and I saw one of those come through, and it wasn't a massive one, but it was big enough that it was knocking down small trees and stuff like that, where it picked up a couple of venomous snakes, and it was like, and they were rather large. They were brown snakes, and I watched them pick them up and went, and just about soiled myself as I was running inside, because when you see, a 6 foot long venomous snake that's flying in the air and you have no idea where it's going to go, and then there's several of them, you kind of go, no, I don't want to be in this situation for very much longer.
Okay, well, so Snake NATO is a real thing.
I changed a setting. Can you guys hear me?
Yes.
Yeah.
Finneo's frozen with his mouth open.
Look, it's a round mouth.
So snakes. Yeah, there was I heard you guys talk about snakes. I was dealing with a
he was dealing with and that was it. Yeah, Mez, try and turn your video off. Maybe that will help.
It was by the mailbox, and is this not working?
You're dropping in and out.
God.
Yeah, turn your video off and just use audio.
Well, I think I'm just going to be quiet.
Okay then.
Just turn your video off. We don't need to see you. We know what you look like. Ben wishing that it hit me in the face. How'd that? That's not very nice.
Right?
Yeah, Mez, do a test.
Is that better?
Yes.
Test.
So far, yeah.
Okay. So, yeah, on snakes, because that is something I heard you guys talk. You guys were saying snakes, right?
Yes. Talk about snake
Yes.
NATOs and how I've actually seen one.
You've never seen a snake?
No, he's seen.
Did you just?
He's seen a snake NATO.
Oh.
Yes.
I don't have a snake NATO.
Yeah, lucky you.
I fought a water moccasin with a weed eater over at Windfall House.
Fair enough.
That's my snake story. I don't want to go into it and then lose, internet again or whatever. So again,
Fair enough.
Yamas is having one of those periods of the year where his internet is just absolutely horrific. So yes.
Yeah.
So throw it out to the chat, and also throw out to you, Yamez and Alexis. So what other areas, aside from sharpening, and I've mentioned welding and stuff like that, what other areas can you see for smiths to upskill regarding what we do?
Well, I mean that's fairly I think the well, like when we take classes and stuff,
Yep.
whether it's Roy coming by Quad State to give us the copy grounds and giving us a tong class, or the hammer making class with Daniel Moose and Ting. I mean, these are things where we're learning new skills to improve our stuff. I mean, I made like one hammer before I went to that hammer class, and I basically learned. Well, what I did learn from that one was how to use round stock for sure to make a hammer, because I couldn't figure out how to do that before. Now I know how to use round stock to make a hammer. I still don't like it. Square stock is much easier to deal with, but I learned a new skill that day by taking a class. And as smiths, I think that is our most common way is by taking a class or going to a demo. Demos do a lot. Like there were quite a few people that learned how to forge aluminum from Hans when he did his demo at Quad State, making a feather out of a piece of angle iron. That was neat.
I I think another type of upskilling, which a lot of people, particularly those that are doing it as a hobby business or whatnot, would learn is from Jess and Roy again in marketing and business. You know, doing a short social media course or something like that is, I think, very conducive to what we do, particularly if you're doing it as a hobby or you're doing it as a small business or side gig and stuff like that. Because learning how to advertise yourself is a very important skill, and it's something that through my research for the book and that type of thing has been talked about and promoted among Smiths for, you know, at least 150. So, you know, learning skills like that is very important. And thank you, Miss Mumble. You know, all the blacksmith talk. That's what the show's about. It's not. It's, sure, we sometimes go and chase squirrels, but most of the time we do try and at least tie it into blacksmithing. You know, we're a pretty open community, and we try and get everything tied into to our
All right,
passion. Um,
all right, I'm back.
you're right.
Yeah. My daughter was calling me, and I had to take the call because what triggered the events of yesterday kind of sparked around me pulling the fuses out of her car that worked the starter solenoid at her request, mind you. So I removed the basically the. I couldn't find the starter relay, so I went for the solenoid fuses. I pulled those out and I put them away. And she was just calling me, going, "Hey, did you put those back before you left?" And I was like, "Nope, but this is where they're at, and this is where they go." So
And Eric makes a good point about he works on and drains hydraulic lines all the time. That's actually a fairly having a a basic knowledge of hydraulics actually might be a good idea for Smiths as well. I'm not sure how many of you guys are you know, have operating forward presses and stuff like that, but I do. And I built mine, you know, out of recycle, you know, repurpose things. So that's also a very you know, having a basic idea in that, even insofar as fixing farm machinery and stuff like that, it's a good idea to have a basic idea in that. And I mean, look, even having an idea of blacksmithing is upskilling in itself. I mean, I'm not sure how many of you guys saw my Instagram reel the other day, but my tractor, I'd actually bent the bucket, managed to bend the front end loader bucket on my tractor, um, fairly substantially. It's about at about a 3 or 4 inch deviation from flat, and so I ended up fixing that with a bit of farm blacksmithing, in the sense of getting a weed burner and cranking it right up and putting it on the and this is like 1/4 inch steel plate. It's fairly substantial, and you know, spending about half an hour trying to heat this thing up, and then turning off the gas, and then absolutely belting the bejesus out of it with a sledgehammer. Now it's fairly straight. It's still got a little bit of a wobble, but you know, like compared to what it was, and considering, you know, it's a rather substantial piece of equipment. I don't have a sizable enough handful to actually, you know, hold it up and forge it out, reforge it. You know, comparatively speaking, it's a hell of a lot better. So yeah, and his Yama's back. Let's see if he can talk.
I think so. I don't want to move too much. I don't know why, but it seems like if I talk too fast or move too much, it digitizes. Okay.
it's not really. It doesn't really make any difference on our end. You're kind of still dropping a little bit here and there. You're clipping, but you know, whatever.
Okay. So
You should just watch the stream and jump into the chat.
I really should. I mean, technology is kicking me out of the show on my own damn channel. I will say
uh,
this. not to change the subject, but before I do go, because this is driving me insane. I am thoroughly blessed on this channel that I can have two amazing co-hosts that have the ability to do this with me, so that days like this become more of a gag than a make. So to that note, Alexis, Adam, I love you guys both very much. Thank you for being there for time. And the sky has gone dark.
Yeah, I may as well see you in the chat. Jump in the chat.
Yeah, see you in the chat. This is really painful. Oh, okay.
And now that
you know,
I
I don't really know what you were talking about during the while I was on the phone. I did see Okay, yeah, my mind just drew a blank for some reason. I don't know why it is. Oh, yeah, I saw Claire joined into the chat there, so hi. And oh, you when I got back in, you were talking about the weed burner thing, and then that just kind of got me to thinking. So, my very first day in blacksmithing was me hooking up a weed burner to a brand new 20-pound propane tank, surrounding it with fire bricks, the end of the weed burner, and thinking this is going to be just as good as a forge. And sticking metal in there and trying to heat it up and beat it on my brand new Harbor Freight 55, and in an hour, I managed to completely empty a brand new 20-pound propane cylinder, and I didn't do shit to that piece of metal that I was working on. I mean, and so that was my initial skill set. That was when I first started, that's the best I could do. And I immediately went, okay, that was a waste of $30. How are we gonna get better at this? And and then over the last 5 years, it's been this gradual improvement. And I mean, I think even without classes, we upskill with practice. Because I mean, as good as I do that everything we do we think is trash. It's like, oh, look at all the flaws. Look, I could have done this better. Oh, that twist isn't quite even right there. I mean, we see every single flaw in our work and we think we could do better. And then the next time we do it, we think of that flaw and we go, okay, how am I not going to do that this time? And so, I mean, we continuously get better, even when it's just on our own, and upskilling that way. And like I was saying before, I got cut off in the middle of the I lost my train of thought. Never mind, Adam. Continue. I literally just drew a blank in the middle of a sentence.
Yep. So your train of thought derailed. I was talking about different things about learn, like one of the others made a good point about how they do hydraulics, Eric. And it was how hydraulics is a good thing to learn as a smith, particularly doing something like building forge presses or even just doing repairs on the farm and whatnot. And that's what led me into doing the farm blacksmithing on my bucket, and having using the weed blower and or rosebud for those who have oxyacetylene. Oxyacetylene's a bit harder to get access to in Australia. It's not as easy. You kind of have got to be trade licensed and all that type of thing. You can get it. It's not like it's restricted. It's just a little bit. It's not as easy as gas. So yeah. Anyway, that's just talking about upskilling and other things. Yeah, no oxygen here because we're at the bottom. We're at the top of the world. yeah, so just upskilling, learning. I encourage you guys to think about what you're doing. Like I said, even if it comes to business and learning some business skills, um, learning stuff like computer um, programs. We've had to do that. We've had to upskill towards computer program for doing YouTube and also for doing these live streams and whatnot. Um, but it upskilling helps to add value as an individual towards and also beyond your training. Like, for example, going back to the knife sharpening that I did, I can now, to a certain degree, offer knife sharpening for people that live out here. As I said, at the start of this section, there are many people out there nowadays who don't know how to sharpen a knife. Sure, people like us in our industry or people that do hunting and whatnot, they will generally know how to sharpen a knife. But there are a lot of people out there that, mothers and single people, families and stuff like that, that don't know how to sharpen knives and that have one thing I was taught growing up is a blunt knife is more dangerous than a sharp knife. A sharp knife is a tool that will cut. If you're trying to cut, let's say, a pumpkin, and you're using a sharp knife, it will cut a hell of a lot easier than trying to cut through a pumpkin with a blunt knife because it's more likely to slip and then stab into you or cut you than a sharp knife will, because a sharp knife will bite into the skin of the pumpkin and slice through. So, you know, having a sharp knife, even though theoretically it's sharper and therefore more dangerous, a sharp knife is actually overall more safe. So that skill is something that I can now transfer outside of just blacksmithing and knife making and sharpening my tools at home into a wider audience, and make use of that and potentially make money from that outside of my direct vocation, if that makes sense.
Sure. And I mean, God, I mean, and that's knife sharpening. I mean, just that in particular is one of those things that I am just horrible at. So like the last knife I made as a gift was one of those railroad spike knives from the Atlas Knife and Tool 1080 railroad spikes, and I mean I did a really good job on that knife. It was freaking choice. I gave it a satin finish just because it was the satin finish looked really good, and it was easy to do. But I just kind of gave it an apple seed edge to begin with, just because it's kind of a sturdy edge, and it'll cut warm butter at least, right? And I gave it to the guy, and I was like, look, I suck at sharpening knives. And so I didn't really even try. I gave it an Appleseed Edge 400 grit on my belt grinder. And if you want it sharper than that, you're going to have to do it yourself or give it to somebody or have somebody else do it, because I'm not, I will work this thing all the way down till there's only a half an inch of blade left, and it still won't be able to shave. And and so he said no problem, and then like 15 minutes later he's like, come over here, because he had a stone right there in the pickup, and he's like, watch this, and he just starts taking all the hair off his arm, and I was like, well, there you go. I guess it wasn't that hard. But yeah, I'm not really good at it, and I've just never really had the opportunity to learn. I did watch the video that Sam Towns did on the geometry of knife sharpening or whatever, or sharpening theory or what have you. I did watch that whole video, but God, it was, while not hard to follow, it seemed like it was more work than it was worth for me. I don't know, but I also didn't really have the right. I don't really have the right equipment to sharpen effectively. So there's that. So
Look,
I'm hoping one day to get that stuff figured out.
well, see, I've done sharpening with Sam himself. As you guys know, I've been to Sam's place. I'm friends with Sam. I'm good. I'm good friends with Sam. I love him to death. And I've done sharpening with Sam, and I did learn initially how to sharpen from Sam, and I'm not taking that away from him. But one thing that I actually shared with the guy that taught me to sharpen today was Alfred. So one thing I learned from him today is watching a sharpening video. It's like forging. There's only so much you can learn from a video. And there's a certain amount of learning that you have to do at the forge. Same thing with sharpening. There's a certain amount of learning you have to do at the stone. But also on top of that, there's some things that you just can't learn from watching a video and are quicker to learn with someone live in person. So I learned, like I said, I learned initially how to sharpen somewhat decently from Sam. And this course really tightened that up for me. So, for example, I could sharpen a knife from forged, probably in 45 minutes to an hour and that's what I learned from Sam. This tightened it up really to the point that, and this is this was basically a square edge kitchen knife. So it was basically back to being blunt forged. And I did it in about 15 minutes from no edge to having a shaving sharp edge, and I'm missing hair on my arm up here from where I tested it. And so again, that training that I had one-on-one with Sam, I really tightened that up with this guy. Where sharpening with stones is what he does for a living. He sells factory knives. He's got a knife shop in town, but sharpening is what he does for a living. And then extending on that, sharpening chisels, sharpening axes, which are different, similar but different, and they use a different skill set. And again, also taking my sword in and working on sharpening my sword, which is, as from a knife that's this big to a sword that's, 3.5 foot long. Again, similar sort of thing, but different in itself. You've really got to focus on different aspects of sharpening. So, yeah. Anyway, that's my 2 cents. What about your final thoughts there, Alexis? We're coming up to an hour, and Yarmaz is vanished.
Well, final thoughts. I think when it comes to increasing your skill set, especially like in a formal environment, these things are often worth the investment in both time and money, because it just expand your ability to provide a service, or even to, what's the word I'm looking for? I don't know. Anyways, if you got an opportunity to take a class, take a class. By all means. I've had a few, and unlike the classes I have to take for work, which I just sit through the drudgery, when I take a blacksmithing class or attend a demo, I am all in, just like glued to it, going, okay, what are we doing? What are we doing? How are we doing it? All right. It's fascinating to me, and I often pick up these skills, especially in a class, a lot better than just watching a YouTube video, like you said. There is an astounding difference between watching it on the computer and seeing it in person, and then doing it yourself. So, if you have the opportunity to quote unquote upskill, by all means do it. And then on the normal safety side of things, it is getting hot out there. It is already hot here. We're approaching triple digits on a regular basis. So for those of us in Texas, schedule your forge time accordingly. Middle of the day is not the right time. So you guys stay safe, stay hydrated, bring plenty of water out to the forge with you, and stay with it as far as drinking the water, because I have slacked on the water before, and all of a sudden realized, oh shit, I need to sit down. I have created an issue that's now going to take a half hour to resolve. So don't be like me. Do as I say, not as I do. Drink plenty of water, stay hydrated, wear your safety glasses, and most importantly, get out there, make something, and have fun doing it. And Adam, what do you got for final thoughts?
My final thought is, guys and ladies and gentlemen, guys and gals, I highly recommend that you set time next fortnight, next Sunday, to be on your systems and watching the live stream. We might have a very interesting live stream for you next fortnight. It will be interesting in my opinion. It's going to be funny as it's going to be eye opening. I'm not going to give too much away because some of you may know, but most of you probably don't. But it's going to be a good giggle in every aspect of the word. So I recommend you stay tuned in. On the safety aspect, one thing that actually got brought up, I occasionally cruise on Reddit. Do you want to say something, Alexa? Sorry.
No. My mom was talking to me, and I was just
Okay.
like,
Yep.
back off, bitch.
So on the safety aspects of things, I just want to take this time to just remind everyone of I think it was Jim Paw Wilson. His story I actually shared on, or I encouraged a new smith on Reddit to look up recently because of metal fume fever, and of course this is 20 years since the past. It was not today. Today's not the anniversary, but it's been 20 years since the passing of Paw from metal fume fever, from the unfortunate incident where galvanized metals were being burnt off in a forge, and unfortunately Paw did pass on from complications related to that incident. So just remembering and also always reiterating, particularly to new smiths, whenever you have the opportunity, teaching them the information and skills that are necessary, not just for them to do this wonderful art, but also to keep them safe. We've been around for long enough to know these stories, and for them not just to be anecdotes, for them to be things that have directly affected either us or people that we know. It's the same thing as safety glasses, and as many of you know, I am still working diligently to finish my book, but just to bring up a bit of information regarding safety and stuff like that. So even in 1919, an article for the American Blacksmith stated as follows: in smithing, as in grinding work, all gas or in gas welding, the blacksmith who does not protect his eyes is taking a big risk. Industrial records show steadily increasing numbers of eye accidents, many of which could be avoided by the use of goggles. According to tables of percentage of disability recently published in the US government, so this is in 1919, the loss of one eye is equal to 30% disability, and that means if you lose one eye, you are only 70% of the man you were before the accident. It means you are a cripple. Why take the chance? Why not wear goggles? In the blacksmith and gas welding business, our eyes are an asset that you must protect. The cost of a pair of goggles is the lowest protective insurance on earth. In welding, they save your eyesight. In grinding, they protect you from possible blindness. Now, in the USA today, there is an average of 2.5 million cases of ocular trauma, being injury to the eyes, every year, with over 1 million being presented to emergency departments and over 440,000 resulting in significant permanent visual impairment. Having a median hospitalization cost of $34,000 to $55,000 for a 2 to 4 day length of stay, not including loss of income and other expenses accrued during recovery. This compared to the average of less than $5 for a pair of safety glasses. It's cheaper and easier in the short time to prevent eye injury than it is to risk it. So don't forget to wear your safety glasses. Keep safe. Be well. Get out to your forge. Hit some metal. And we'll catch you next fortnight. Bye.
All right. Bye now. Love you, Miss Mumbles. And we're clear.